Hey, welcome back to the Big Grand Show. Thank you for joining me. Now, we're back with more ways the GOP is looking to just destroy our economy and hurt the poor. And this time, I'm bringing you their sales tax plan. Now, this whole plan is total BS, it's total garbage, and I'll explain why. But first off, let's explain what it is. A Georgia Republican has introduced to the U.S. House, and Speaker Kevin McCarthy has said that he will bring it to a vote. But the bill is to abolish the IRS, to abolish the income tax, and replace it with a 30%, yes, you heard that right, 30% sales tax at the federal level. Not only would this supersede any kind of tax holiday that some states give for their state sales tax, if a state was to have, say, a state sales tax relief weekend or something like Texas used to do, they would still have to collect federal sales tax. For states that don't have a sales tax already, they would have to implement a new apparatus in order to collect the taxes. So this would cause some, 13 states, lots of extra money. But let's get down to the nitty gritty on what this bill will do. Not only does it abolish the IRS, not only does it abolish the income tax, it also get rid of all taxes. No corporate taxes, no payroll taxes, none of it. And some of you out there will be like, well, that's great. No payroll taxes. No federal taxes except for the sales tax. That sounds great, right? But we'll start with the low-hanging fruit here. That means no corporate taxes. That means literally corporations could make billions and billions of dollars and pay nothing in taxes. Now, we talk all the time on this channel about how they hardly pay any, right? When they should have to pay taxes. But just think about it. Walmart not having to pay any taxes at all. Corporations that are known for suppressing wages and treating employees like garbage could continue to do so and not have to pay any taxes. Do you really think not having to pay taxes is going to get them to pay you more? Do you really think that them not paying taxes is going to help the low-end workers who are making minimum wage survive? No. They're not going to raise your pay or anyone's pay because they don't pay taxes. What's going to happen is that they will further suppress wages because at that point they have no reason to. They've already won. They get exactly what they want, where they don't have to pay taxes, but you do. Because as part of the Fair Tax Act, as they're calling it, businesses buying products from other businesses doesn't count. That won't be taxed. But household expenditures, such as your grocery bill, buying clothing, buying toilet paper even, that'll be taxed. Government expenditures, those will be taxed. But corporations won't pay any taxes. Not even payroll taxes, which takes me to my next point. If you take away the payroll tax, what happens? Most of you will say, oh, well, I save money on my taxes. I get more money in my paycheck every week. Yeah, you do. But Social Security dies too. Social Security is funded solely by the income made from the payroll tax. That's the reason I've been against payroll tax holidays in the past because in the end it hurts Social Security. Social Security does not need to be hurt. But this would do away with the payroll tax, thus Social Security would not be funded. Social Security would go bankrupt even faster, and boom, Granny's out on the street because she can't even afford to pay rent in the local Section 8 housing. What this will do is basically create a regressive tax that affects the poor and does not really affect the rich. The billionaire class will be fine, right? The billionaire class, they'll keep going like it's not like it's no tomorrow. But think about those sales taxes you pay on things like your cell phone, things like that, right? Imagine you have $100 cell phone bill between you and your spouse, and then there's a $30 put on top of that, because that's roughly what it would be. Now, the way they want to count it, they want to tell you it's 23%, but at the end of the day, it's still 30% of that $100, right? You still pay $130 on that $100 bill, right? You spend $100 at the grocery store. Um, say some of the items there are taxable. Say most of them are, because there are some food items in both states that have sales tax that aren't taxable, but many items do have tax on them. So say somebody bought a bunch of groceries, $30 added on top of it. So does that extra $30 affect a billionaire the same way as it does someone who is making maybe $150, $200 a week? Are those people going to be able to survive that? No, especially now with prices the way they are. This 30% would do nothing but harm the poor and the elderly and the disabled. That this bill has nothing to do with tax fairness, all about tax regressiveness. It is all about lining the pockets of billionaires and corporations while attacking the poor and the working class. That is all that this bill is aiming to do. Now, they're going to tell you that it's all about fairness, that they have an idea, right? But this idea dates back decades. I just read an article from the 1998 Brookings Institute where they discussed Republicans taking this up back in 98, 97, 98 as an idea, and how bad it was, and how regressive it would be, and how bad it would be for the poor. How corporations would not have to pay a dime in taxes. Now, one thing in this bill that they're talking about is this prebate, they're calling it. Every month you would get a check in the mail to cover part of the cost of living. But how would they be able to fund a 23%, as they're calling it, prebate to every American? Because they wouldn't have the money. They'd be bankrupting the country. Because there's no way they're going to make up the money that they lose by dropping the income tax. Now, I read a few years ago, back I think it was 2016, 2017, there was a Democrat that proposed a bill like this, and they were attacked for it being regressive and not really good to the poor. And all they were suggesting was a 2% tax on all goods bought or sold in America. And the Republicans told them how bad it was, how regressive it was, and the bill was put down by the Democrats. At the end of the day, like, no, this isn't. We're not doing this. Now, I could support a 1 or 2%, as they call it in Europe, a value added tax or a VAT. I could see 1 or 2%. But I read a few years ago that 1 or 2% could balance the U.S. budget without us having to make drastic cuts to policies that or programs that Americans find to be very important: health, education, defense, where we wouldn't have to keep putting Social Security on the chopping block, even though Social Security doesn't add a dime to our deficit. But all this will do is lower the tax burden for the rich, where they really won't be affected by it that much, because their businesses won't be affected by it. Their businesses won't have to pay for taxes. And all they'll have to pay for is for their consumption of items, right? But the problem is taking $30 out of every $100 spent for a billionaire is a lot different than taking $30 every $100 spent from somebody who makes like $100, $200 a week. Now I can tell you right now that this bill doesn't have a chance in passing. It may get through the House, and we'll talk about it if that happens. But the likelihood is that it will never pass the House, because you're going to have moderates that are going to say no, and all the Democrats are going to say no. But two, the Senate will never bring it to a floor vote. I can guarantee you that. And Joe Biden, and Joe Biden has already said that even if it happened to get through Congress, even through the Senate, he would veto it. Now, this is all stemming from the fact that in the infrastructure bill, there was money put for the IRS to hire roughly 87,000 new workers. Now, the thing is, over 70% of those workers would be replacements of old workers, right? Workers that are retiring and leaving the IRS. Most of the people that are retiring are in the customer service and IT sectors. So the people that answer the phone for you and the people that keep the system running, right? It has nothing to do with being able to go after you for taxes, right? They're being given this money to add these new workers to replace a retiring group of employees. Now there is a net gain in staff that would be acquired by the IRS, but that's because they have more to deal with. They have so many more people calling in and working, and like I said, most of these people will be in the IT sector and in the customer service sector of the IRS. Now they say they want to get rid of the bureaucratic BS that is the IRS, but they want to replace it with two separate tax agencies within the federal government. So instead of having one bureaucracy that you have to deal with when you're dealing with taxes, you'll have to deal with two. Instead of one organization snooping into your affairs, snooping into your bank account, you'll have to deal with two snooping into your bank account. This should be terrifying to my conservative friends out there. This is an absolutely terrible idea. Because just imagine having to pay 30% extra on top of your already existing sales tax if you live in a state that has a sales tax. Here in Oklahoma, you have to pay a sales tax and a state income tax. So just imagine in states like Louisiana and Oklahoma, where I know that they have a state income taxes. Just imagine what you're going to have to pay in taxes throughout the year, right? whatever your state income tax is. And then whatever their sales tax is. 8.25% in most places, right? 7.25% in some places. But add 30% to that. You are now going to be paying 37%, 38% in sales tax every time you go to the grocery store. Would this be a good idea to you? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, y'all have a great day. See you down the road. This is just another one of those Republican ideas aimed at hurting the poor.